Well, everybody, welcome back to your daily edition of the Trig Podcast of Joey and Goso TV here on this beautiful Friday, 10 a.m. Pacific, here from the Long Beach, California, Los Angeles area. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to this video doing a live training today on how to be a better communication, how to be a better communicator. I think I need my own course. And I want to teach you these principles that I've been practicing for many years. I've always been a student and maybe a practitioner for sure of communication that is effective, that is clear, that is motivating, inspiring, and that moves people along. And I've also felt like a horrible communicator many times. If I can be honest, I feel that way still to this day most times, but I think that that's part of learning your style and some of the weaknesses and strengths of your personality type, which we'll get into. Now, you might think, well, I'm not a communicator, I'm not on a stage. Well, these days, I was telling my son just the other day, even he took a driving test at the DMV, and when the instructor came to his window, the instructor said to our son, he said, "Is your name David?" And then my son said, of course, he said, "Yes, my name is David." And of course, being the communicator parent that I am, afterwards, I didn't full on lecture our son, but I gave him some tips on how to better communicate with the DMV instructor. And so my point is that you don't have to be on a stage or in front of an audience to learn how to better communicate. It might just be you at the DMV. It might be you at an interview. It might be you learning how to feel more comfortable, even talking to your family. So let's get into these tips that I think will help you understand more about how can you be a better communicator. So let's get into the training here. Let's see here if we can show the screen and share these tips with you. I actually have some slides here for you that I've prepared. So here we go. Number one, this is the training that I'm teaching. Number one is be present with your audience. The greatest gift that you can give to the audience is to be present with them. Now, being present is easier said than done because people say that communication is the number one fear that people have, right? You get nervous when you talk in front of people. You forget what you want to say. You tend to ramble. People tend to forget their notes. They get dry mouth, or they maybe are too hyped, or maybe they're too introverted. And so being present isn't the easiest thing to do, but it is what most people love receiving. The audience loves to feel like that person in front of them is really there for them. They're not distracted or thinking of their next event. They're actually in the moment. They have authority, but they also have warmth and enthusiasm. And so being present with your audience, if I was to say what's the number one tip, and this is something I learned from my coach on communication, it would be to be present with your audience. Now, how do you do that? Well, here's some tips. Number one is know your stuff. This is as simple as just simply knowing the scripture that you're going to read and knowing how to read it well. If you're going to go to an interview and you want to speak well in front of a panel or in front of the potential boss, you want to know your resume inside and out without reading it. If they ask you, so how was your experience at Duke University? You want to be able to quickly say, oh, I loved the fall trees outside of my dorm room. You want to be able to quickly and comfortably know what you're talking about. Obviously, if you're or coming across as an expert in a particular topic, you're training church leaders, you're training your volunteers at church or in the workplace, you're doing a training for your staff, you want to know, let's say if you're talking about budget stuff, you want to know your budget inside and out. You want to be on top of your numbers. You want to know the trends. You want to know who's giving, who's not. What is the economy doing, and how may that affect your business or your church? So the point is, know your stuff. In my context, obviously, as a speaker in church, I need to know the passage, what it means, what it says, how it applies to people, why you should listen to this, why it was written, and for whom. So all of the basics of knowing your stuff. Number 3 is to calm yourself down. This, when I heard this tip from my coach, I thought, wow, this is the one that I need the most. It depends on your personality type. Because I am a pretty amped person and I tend to over deliver, over create maybe, I need to remember this one the most. Now, if you're someone who tends to under deliver and you maybe lack some energy just because of personality or nerves, then you may need to actually hype yourself up. One of the best communicators that I've ever heard is actually Larry King, and he wrote a book on communication. And one of the things he says that he does is when he's preparing to interview, presidents or hip hop artists, he always listens more than talks. And if you watch Larry King on YouTube now, or his new show on Netflix, I think, or on whatever it is, or on TV, I believe, you are just in awe of how he listens. And that is a result of calming yourself down. Even if you're giving a speech, those 2-3 seconds of well-placed silence can be very powerful. And you can draw an audience in just even using that technique here on you here for a second. It's a very important technique to calm yourself down. I remember a year, maybe 2 years ago, I went to give a speech to some drama students at a high achieving high school here in the area. And I would give myself a C plus in terms of my performance. It was a room of about 300 high achieving students, freshmen, sophomores, seniors, etc. And they were all artists, piano players and vocalists and all the rest, drama students, theater. I mean, just amazing, amazing students. Theater. Funny how I said that. But I gave myself a C because I was prepared. I knew my stuff. I was present, but I didn't calm myself down. I was way too amped, way too excited, and I didn't do that well. So you have to know how to calm yourself down and get inside of your body so that you can be present. And then a couple more tips. Number 4 is this is one that I think a lot of people need to remember. This one is to believe people are rooting for you. Believe that people in the audience are actually for you. Now, it might just be your mom, your dad, your family who are the only ones rooting for you. Although for the most part, if you're in a church, it's the same people every week, or if you're at work, or obviously your family, people are rooting for you. They want to hear you. They want to know what you have to say and believe what you have to say. But often, I know it's been true of me and many speakers, we feel like people are just staring at us or not laughing at our jokes or being maybe even rebelling against what you're saying or bored to death, right? That's the worst fear that all communicators have. But to actually tell yourself that people are rooting for you, that the majority of those people, even if it's the same people week after week, they are rooting for you. They want you to succeed because they are selfish. They want to hear something positive for their lives. And so they are wanting you to give them something awesome. And that helps because it eliminates all that headspace or all that negative talk inside of your head that might say people are against you, they don't like you, look at what you're wearing, you look overweight, you're not as eloquent as the last guy, all these things that we tend to tell ourselves. Instead, realize that people are mostly, yeah, sure, there might be 1 or 2 people that are bored to death, but for the most part, people are rooting for you. And then This is the last tip, and this is the one that I mentioned earlier. Know your speaking style's ups and downs. And this is a whole separate training that I've been preparing and looking into about styles. Every one of us, there are 9 different speaking styles, depending on your personality. And every personality and every speaking style has its ups and downs, its strengths and weaknesses. So if you're someone, for example, who is very fact-oriented, you're all about the do's and don'ts, you might come across, imagine Elizabeth Warren, if you're into politics, or Hillary Clinton. There are those people who speak so well and powerfully that you're drawn to them. But if they're not careful, they might eventually come across as black and white people. You're either for me or against me. And that can be very effective certainly in politics, but it might come across divisive. Or they might want to be so perfect. This is part of the same kind of personality type. They want to be so perfect in their speech that they over deliver. They have way too many details. Now, another personality type, and this is my personality type, is a 3, or what we call the achiever. The strength of the achiever type is that we're going to bring you to the highest of heights. We're going to paint a picture of what's possible that is going to inspire you to pieces. You're going to think, wow, I want to go there with him. What is dangerous about, if you're like me, of our types who are the achievers, is that we can tend to leave people behind, because people may get tired of reaching the heights and of maybe even feeling, or you're making them feel like they can't go there with you. And so people like me, we have to, the same thing, have less expectations, realize that a lot of times you're projecting your own lacks and deficiencies onto people. And this is what we all do. So regardless of your personality style, this is just what we all do. And so you have to be aware of your achieving style and to bring things down to earth. Give people very simple and very doable things to do. And maybe even avoid doing and giving tips on what to do or that you should be better. And instead, just tell people that they are fine as they are. Even though I know for you and for me, that may feel so awkward. But people need to know that they are loved for who they are. So my point is, there are many, as I said, 9 different types of speaking styles. And I go through them in this training that I do on helping each person based on their personality and a couple of tests that I give so that they know their ups and downs, their strengths and weaknesses. And of course, I do an assessment. I actually listen to you speak. And then I can shape and adapt my tips and my program to you particular style and even your context, your audience, etc. And so speaking of that, I do offer coaching in this area at davidtrig.com/coaching in terms of speaking and some of those tips that I've mentioned today. So this whole area of communication is so important to me. It's something that, as I said, I don't feel like I'm the best communicator. I know that I tend to have these weaknesses, but I also know that I am one of the best communicators out there. And it's not really even about that. Let me say what I really mean. I actually love helping people become better communicators. It's like a football coach that really enjoys, even though maybe he's past his prime, and I don't feel like I am, but maybe he's no longer the star quarterback. But the great coaches, they were star quarterbacks or star players or even just the bench warmer, but they had a mind to see how to make other people better. And I really believe that that's my gift, is to help other people become better. Certainly when it comes to communication and presentation, how you come across, your body language, what you wear, movement, being engaging, charismatic, even if you're not that way in private. I am not, you might not believe this, but I'm not a very loud guy in private. I tend to be very quiet at home. I know it's hard to believe, but in public, I am a whirlwind of a person. And as I said, I have to learn how to calm myself down. You might be the opposite. You might be very exuberant and bubbly at home and private, but then when you get in front of an audience, you shut down and you struggle to have that personality come out. And so I work with many people, communicators and coaches, life coaches, presenters, speakers, obviously church leaders, trainers, educators, anyone who has an audience of two or more, to help them understand who they are and to improve their styles and to give them practical tips so that they can actually become better communicators. I love communication because, as I was telling our son David, sometimes it's the DMV instructor that has what you want, meaning in his case, the freedom to drive. And those first moments of talking to that instructor are very, very meaningful to get what you want. And so communication, I believe, is a dying art. If you think about the news and politics, and I think social media has basically eliminated the need to be a good communicator because everything is so fast and people just want to see 3 seconds of this and just anger and violence or total outrage and if anything, sometimes over the top kind of stuff. To actually be a good communicator who paces him or herself and who does things with excellence and with passion, with excitement, is a dying art. But I am convinced, just back to politics, that the people who do well, whether you're a Trump supporter or not, he is a master, some would call it manipulator. I don't know if he's a communicator, but he definitely knows how to manipulate an audience, how to shape an audience. For me, obviously, MLK and Obama would be the ultimate communicators because I like their style and I like their sense of depth, knowledge, but also of charisma, passion, of belief, and of integrity. I believe that those things are very important. Not many of us will be presidents or orators like some of these amazing people. We also have pastors, I think, that we all admire here locally. There are some pastors that I admire their communication style. But we all still need to learn how to speak better and to inspire people. And what better way to do that than to have a coach that can help you and that can encourage you and not make you feel bad or tell you that you're horrible. To close, the best moment that I ever had, even though I had been speaking at that moment for maybe 20 years or 20, 25 years, was when my friend down the street invited me to come to his church and speak in front of a large audience of maybe 1,000 people. And at the time, I was feeling pretty low about my communication gifts. I'd always been told, oh, music is your thing, but speaking, I'm not sure about that. I definitely told myself that all the time. But I came to his church, big audience. I felt honored that he would trust me with his large audience. He is a gifted communicator, in my opinion. Anyway, long story short, after I spoke the first few times, he said, Trig, you're one of the best communicators I've ever heard. You're a gifted communicator. And I'm telling you, that kind of encouragement or coaching, I guess you could say, is the reason why I'm here right now. Because of his input from someone I respected, someone who I believed is a great communicator and who believed in me. I hope that I can be that to you, whether you're speaking to 1,000 or you're just speaking to the DMV driver, and that I can help you believe in your gifts, in the talents and skills that God has given you, in the work that you've put into it, and to help you come out of your shell, to maybe, if you're like me, to be more controlled, to whatever it is that you are needing to improve in, and to help you in that journey. Oops, sorry about that. The wind is loud here, but to help you in your journey as a communicator. So if you would like to find out more, just simply send me a text or a message wherever you're watching this, whether live or after the fact. Go to my website, sign up for my free training that I do in this area. Basically, I go through this very content with you for free. And let me know, most of all, that you are enjoying these talks and that you want to be a better communicator. And perhaps I invite you to sign up for the free training. Just go to the website, davidtrig.com/coaching. And it says free coaching down there, but I think I changed it to just coaching, just to be simple. And sign up there and let me know how I can help you. Thank you again, and I will see you next time.